Okay, so we are back. Took a little break, and now I'm back to working on Blind Hotel. The next problem I'm gonna tackle is the uh, the multiple object overlap. Now, if we pop open BFO3 here, oh, move, uh, do open level. Um, you'll see that there's places in the level where you're going to be able to you're going to be overlapping multiple objects at the same time, whether it be the walls or the doors or something. Um, so my solution for this that I think is appropriate for this game is what we're going to do is basically the last object that you overlap is going to be the object that you interact with. That may cause a little bit of some UI confusion, but I think that that's a good solution for now, simple solution. So we're going to open up our interactive object parent, and what we are going to do is we're going to make a event dispatcher of new object interact. Okay, so we're gonna assign that. We have a begin play to assign that. I usually use begin plays. Stuff labeled here. I didn't do that before. Object overlap. Okay, so interact. Okay, so let's put this up here because I'm going to be interfacing down into this section here. So when this event gets fired, we are going to we're going to remove any existing widget. So let's come over here to the widget. Now we could use remove all widgets, but then of course if we do any other kind of UI, it would remove those. So we're just going to specifically remove this one. Now, if this hasn't been created yet, this will just fail. It might pop up an error, but that's fine. Won't hurt anything. And then we are going to disable input off the player controller. Right. So I might seem like I'm doing this kind of backwards, but you'll see where I'm going here soon. So, okay. So if I get the objective interact, file that, then we're going to remove the interaction widget and disable the input for the player controller. Now, let's see. Okay, we've got enable input, remove disable input. Okay, so now we need to decide when to fire uh, the that for everybody else. And we'll need to put this in the walls as well because they aren't children of the interact actor. I set them up separately. Okay, so let's get all actors of class. And we got our interact actors. Okay, and then we're going to do a for each loop. And what that does, for each loop, just takes all the actors that are in this array, and for each one, it does one of these things. Now, one of the things you have to be careful of with for each loops is you don't want to do anything that can create infinite loops. This is where a lot of crashes are created because you do things in the loop body that link back somewhere else, and then you get this infinite loop and the game crashes. So you only want to, in the loop body, do the things that you want to do to this object. If you want to continue on down the sequence, then you want to use this completed. So it'll fire the stuff in here on every actor in this array, and then once it's done, it'll fire this completed. Let's see. So we're going to want to cast to our interact. Oops. Here, I can just pull off this. Cast to interact object. And then to call new object interact when we activate the overlap. So when it begins overlap, goes through every object in the level, interactive object, and calls this event dispatcher that we set up. So then when we're done with that, we're going to do the same thing for the walls. Get all actors of class wall. Cast to. Now, when you need to cast sometimes is confusing. The reason we need to cast is because the blueprint right now doesn't know which specific actor is being cast to. But by using this cast to, we're basically saying cast to this specific instance of this actor. If you know exactly which actor it is, like player pawn 0, or if I just wanted to reference, the first one in the sequence or something like that, and I know which actor it is, you don't actually have to cast. But you will get oh, my for loop. If you set it up to cast and you don't need to cast, you'll actually get a warning just saying that it's an unnecessary step. I don't think it hurts anything if it is casting, because it's just casting to a known object, but it's an unnecessary step. So if you're doing that a lot, you want to avoid it, doing unnecessary casts. So I'm going to cast to the wall, and I'm going to call. Oh, I haven't put them in the wall yet. So let's go over to our wall. Oh, and in fact, item is already, you do not need to cast to. Okay, so I didn't need to cast there. Never mind. Boom. And that means I won't need to cast here. So there you go. So we're going to put the same thing in here, event dispatcher, new object interaction. Come up here, assign it, and begin play. Already there. And then we are going to parent. Now if I compile and go back over here, compile this guy, I can call new object interaction on the wall. Boom. So now we should only ever get one object interaction at a time. So go into our level, touching the east-west wall, touching the east-west wall, going backwards. Uh-oh. Trying to turn on wireframe. Because I should, if I walk in any one direction for a set amount of time. Looks like I got some errors in the log. Access, yep, that's those errors. So I could probably fix those. Let's see, how would we fix that? Okay, we're going to put a branch in here and check to see if that's valid. Here. So if that widget exists, here, just so we're not filling up spam errors, you know? Because you get enough of those errors, even if they aren't doing anything, pretty soon you're trying to debug stuff and you can't see anything through this massive errors. So you want to try to avoid that if you can. So let's try that again and see if we get those errors. I'm going to walk forward, I'm touching a wall, touching to the side. Looks like my north-south walls may not be firing. Touching east-west wall, touching east-west wall. Obviously, for testing purposes, I'm going to need to do some more testing on this because it looks like I'm only seeing an east coast wall. Double check something here. Let's look at 3. Oh, I've got an extra wall floating placed in here. For that. Okay, so if I move forward, and someone's calling me again. Take a little break. Okay, so it should be, if we spawn in, should be hitting that door overlap. What's going on here? Forward, it says I'm touching a wall. Touching a wall, touching a wall. I may have broken something here. East-west wall. And it doesn't look like the, let's see, the bed. Bed is, two. There's parent 2. So I'm hitting it. I'm hitting something else. Ah, so I know what I'm doing. What's happening is when I fire the... okay, so I made a mistake here. So what's happening is this begin overlaps firing, right? And it's creating all the widgets and everything. But then it's getting here, and it's then removing them all, including itself. So here's what we need to do. We need to come in here, and in this array, before we do anything else, okay, we need to remove item, and we are going to remove ourselves from remove self. So that way, we're not instantaneously creating and then removing the widgets and the interactions from ourselves. And we will want to do that in our wall as well. So oh, because I haven't done that yet in here. So is valid. Right. Okay. So moving from the walls. Oh, we need to put in the remove from here. Okay, so get all actors of class. Class interact. Do our for each. First, we want to do the get self. Move. remove self. Loop call interact object completed walls. Get all actors of class wall. You can see how these things start to cascade on top of themselves once you're doing tons of stuff like this. We're going to remove item self, and we are going to for each loop call new object interaction. Okay, so let's spread this out a bit. Interact these because I don't need them. Other interact. Okay, so let's see if that has its desired effect. Now we should be getting only one message at a time. Touching an east-west wall, press space to open door. So you can see as I move along the wall and I hit the door, I'm getting different objects. There's the couch, there's the wall again, east-west wall. Okay. All right. So that seems to be working. Now I'm going to need to line that text up. One of the things you're noticing that I may not get in for this demonstration is the text isn't properly centering on screen. There's some magicry with widgets to get them to 1920 by 1080. Yeah. I'll mess with that later. Okay, so, all right, so that's working. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create, so let's save those, source control. I'm just going to stop this while I connect to source control. Okay, we're connected to source control. I just didn't want to, I didn't know if any passwords were going to be up on screen. For some reason, my auto connect to source control isn't functioning, so I have to manually do it each time I start a new session. I don't feel like tracking that down. So let's check that out. That. I'll choose files to save. Oh, we do need to save Bf3 because I deleted that extra wall. And I'm just going to use Bf entry. Oh, I didn't check in the stuff from the last time I did this. Interacts. Bf. I'm sharing a directory. Bf all interacts. All right, so that's all checked in. Okay, so now we're going to create our objective list. Actually, let's do one more thing here. While we're in here, we need to, so if you remember earlier, I had the lamp and the phone and the alarm. So, well, let's just create our objective list first. So I'm going to go back into blueprints and go into my widgets. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the pause menu. I am going to move these down a bit. Actually, I lied. I'm not going to put it on the pause menu because I don't want to take up tons of space. I'm going to put a button on the pause menu. Those aren't lined up. Okay, so let's rename that. Make sure we didn't mix these up. Yeah, we did mix them up. Put main menu back up here. So I'm just going to use my. I'm going to duplicate my instructions page. Objectives. That to pause menu. Objectives. Come into our objectives menu. We can delete that. And we're not going to want the okay, so we are going to create widget. Our pause menu. We're going to create widget, and that's going to be objectives. Add that to viewport. And then we are going to remove parent self. Okay. Then in our objectives, that. Clicked. We are going to create a pause menu. Pause menu. And we are going to add to viewport. And then we are going to remove from parent. And target, well, target's default self, so I guess I don't need to look that one Okay, so when you click the okay, so now what we're gonna do is check horizontal box. In that, we're gonna add a checkbox, bigger. Text box in here as well. Oh, that was padding. Checkbox. Padding. Size 4. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. How do we make our checkbox bigger? Hmm. Transform scale. There we go. Let's go with 2. Align this up. Padding. Line up here. Okay. Text box. We're gonna have some left padding. Looking like a text box with a. So we're gonna say text. Oh, so let's name this checkbox. Name call spouse check. Check call spouse. Call spouse. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, so we got our text box and our checkbox. So let's get that centered here. Best we can. Right. Okay, so now we're going to duplicate that horizontal box. Lined up. And our next objective is to work on laptop. Okay. Rename that checkbox. Check laptop. Okay. Duplicate that. Duplicate it inside itself. That lined up. And now we're going to take bath. The reason it's good to rename these checkboxes is because when you're working in the other screen, if you just have a bunch of things called checkbox, then it'll be like checkbox 7895553, and then you have to, oops, take a bath twice, brush teeth. Duplicate that. So that you don't have a bunch of checkboxes named checkbox 9875238 that you're trying to then alt, go back and forth. What did I say? Brush teeth. Then what else do we need to do? We need to sleep. And then oops, name that one. Rename that to exit check exit room. Exit room. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to make this grayed out. Opacity. Make this gray that out for right now. So that way it doesn't activate until all the rest of the objectives activate. Okay, so let's compile and save that. Now we're going to go into our graph. Okay, and we are going to use event dispatchers to do all this. Oh, look, and I didn't rename a bunch of my checkboxes. Graph, and it still didn't name them. Awesome. Well, that's what you end up with if you're not named and it didn't update the entry anyway. So we're going to use event dispatchers. So did I rename them? Yeah. All check spouse. Great. Did I rename the wrong thing? No. Excellent. That's nice. So great. So now I'm going to assume that they're created in order. Well, no, because then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, we can do this. Look, we'll go into the checkbox and we'll create an event with it on check chat exchange. Now check call spouse is in there. We know which one that is. Well, we don't actually because oh, which one of these didn't get renamed? Ah, oh, I didn't rename these. Okay, so that was my fault. Check sleep. Check exit. Check bath. Always a good idea to blame yourself before you blame the software. very easy to designer a mistake to go, oh, the software must be broken, must not be working. Okay, so we're going to create event dispatchers. We got one bath. We got two teeth. We got three spouse. We got four exit. Laptop. We got sleep. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so let's first these bad boys. We'll just start with the bath, and that way we can just duplicate. So, event construct, bind event to bath. Okay, so here's what we're going to need to do. Because this can be created, we're going to store the data for which of these objectives have been created in the first person character. Okay, so we're going to go in here in our variables, and we're going to create two variables. One is going to be an int number of objectives. Okay, and then variables. And we're going to create some bools. Rename bath. Duplicate laptop. Duplicate teeth. Duplicate spouse. And again, there's various different ways to do this, and I can be overcomplicating things, but it's interesting. I have a show mouse cursor event floating here doing nothing. Must have started on that, not finish it. We'll have to figure out why we got that in there. Let's see. What did we have? Bath, laptop, teeth, spouse. Spouse, laptop, bath, teeth, sleep. Exit. We actually don't need to keep track of exit because you'll see why. Okay, so we're going to make an event dispatcher called objective complete. And in that event dispatcher, we are going to have a integer, and it's going to be objective number. Objective item. Okay. All right, so come over here, assign this objective, figure out what's going on with that later. And what we're going to do is say we're going to go number of objectives. Inc. And int. So an objective's complete. We're going to increment our number of objectives. Defaults to 0. Then what we're going to do is we are going to split on int. Find it. That's not what we want. Let's see. I can't remember what it's called. Get into options. Where's select int random switch. I always get split and switch. Switch on it. Okay, so add our pins. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're just going to do them in this order. So we're going to let this dictate the order over whatever's in the objective thing. So we'll just keep everything in this order. Probably should have gone off the objective list and then they'd always be in the same order, but okay, we're going to set that. So on 1, set bath. 2, three, set teeth. 4, we'll set spouse. 5, we'll set sleep. Okay. So for each one of those, it'll set them as done again. And I may not even need that. We'll see. I kind of do this through the flow. Okay, so bath event. We're going to get all actors of class. Again, single player. I'm going to do it differently. You want to get player indexes and things like that. Get the actor that's interacting with it currently. First person character. Get 0 because there's only ever going to be 1. We're going to call objective complete event. And then bath is number 1. What I did there. Okay, so bath gets completed. Then, actually, we're going to put a branch in there. Okay, we're going to get all actors of class. Okay, branch over here. We're going to cast first person character. And we are going to get bath. And so, of course, here I could set bath too, but I'm doing it over here anyway, so it's easier. You can do it either way, doesn't matter. Then we're going to branch off that. And if that is false, then we're going to fire the objective event. So what that's going to do is basically it won't fire the objective event multiple times. So you're not getting, you can just use a counter because it'll only fire once bath is done. It won't ever fire it again. Let's set this up correctly. Extra branch. Okay, so we're coming in. We get a bath event from the interactive actor. We haven't set that up yet. Get all actors class, first person character, cast to them, and we may not even need to cast. Now, let's see, we didn't need to cast. Just go directly to that guy because it's a specific one. And if bath has not been checked, then we fire the objective complete event with the integer of 1. Comes over here, this fires, increments the objective counter, and then does that. So let us do laptop. Okay, so we can just copy this. Again, lots of different ways to do this kind of thing. This is just one way. Feel free to explore your own. Duplicate that. Just do not want to do that. The event to fire it, not the sign. That would have broken things. Okay, so what did we say? This is laptop, which we're going to say is number 2. That to 2. What's next? Teeth. Here. The things that helps to get your signs out of the way. And as you can see, if you're doing fairly complex things, these lists can get big. And it's good to, nail it on kind of the first one before you duplicate it all. I probably should have done one and then tested it, but it's relatively simple stuff. If you're doing something more complex like this, then you're definitely going to want to test it on one actor before you go and duplicate it to all the other actors, because then you're going to have to go back and replicate that all over the place. Okay, so next one's spouse. Here. These binds are all chained off the begin play. Now, the reason I need to keep track of that stuff in the player character is because player character is already there, whereas this widget can be pulled in and out. Oh, okay, so I am doing one thing wrong. Off this hooked there. This. Okay, we're doing laptop. Here. Because obviously just checking off the bath on every different event. Good. Right. So what do we got next? Spouse. Then we got sleep. Now, because I have these different objectives, the way I'm doing it of keeping track of these is I'm incrementing that number in the first person character. And now once I get all this done, one thing at a time. Don't be too ADHD. Sleep, right? Get sleep. Okay, let's do our objective items. 1, 2, oops, 23, 3, 4, Okay. All right. So what we want to do now is actually, you know what? We don't even need the integer, but we could do it with a all true, probably cleaner. But we'll just do the integer. Um, integer is greater to or equal than 5. Branch here. And we are going to and do think what I want to do here. Actually, well, I've already set it up. I could have just gone off whether all of these were true, which probably would have simplified things a little bit. But sometimes when you're working in the flow, you end up making things a little more complicated than they need to be. So let's see what we need to do here. We're going to let's add another Boolean. Duplicate this. Complete. And it's going to default to false. We're going to set that. Okay, so if the number of objectives completed, the good thing about this is like if I add like 20 objectives, I don't have to string them all into this or thing. I can just change this number. Um, but if this number of objectives completed is greater to or equal than 5, if you have a number that continually increments, it's always good to do the greater to or equal than rather than just an equal, just in case you get some condition where you're incrementing 2 at once and it goes to 6. That equal to will never fire. It's just one of the things that I always do to keep track of things. One of the habits that I do. So set is complete. So what we can do in here now is we will save these guys, compile this. We'll go ahead and just do another get all class, first person characters. Do a get um, get. Now, in some of my other games, instead of using the characters, if you do have an object, say like a planning camera or a central spawn actor or something like that, that's going to be in every level, then you can put that kind of information just basically into anything that's going to always be in a level no matter what. Like in a multiplayer game, you might not want to track objectives in the pawns because the pawns can get destroyed and respawned. So you might want to track them in some kind of central widget that always, or central actor that can actually just live in a level and keep track of everything for you. You can just put variables in a thing and you drop it into a level and it just sits there and you're constantly casting to that actor and it can be a scoreboard actor or whatever it needs to be. But you want something that's going to be static in the level. Now, you can do a lot of this stuff in levels themselves. You can make a design level and add it as a sub level, and it's just sitting there running blueprints. I tend to try to stay away from that because then when you start bug fixing and you've got this stuff duplicated over multiple levels, you're creating new levels. It can cause a lot of headache. So having it centralized in as few actors as possible is good. But you can't use widgets to keep track of this information. There's also some good blueprint save files that you can get that can keep track of that kind of stuff. But you can't use this blueprint to keep, or this widget blueprint to keep track of all that stuff because it's coming and going. Every time it gets removed, it's gone to the ether, and when a new one gets created, it won't have that variable set. So that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. So let's see. Uh, get objective. Oh, I need to we wanted to get complete. Get complete. Branch. Okay, so every time it completes an objective, we do all that fun stuff. Oh, we missed a step. Okay, next thing we need to do is check the boxes. Okay, so bath. Set check state. Actually, let's just do set checked. Set is checked. Do teeth. See, just a relatively simple objective system can get relatively complicated. Now, one of the ways to keep stuff like this from getting so complicated is to actually kind of sit down and plan this stuff out in advance. That's where design docs and such can come in handy. What actor is going to work with what. You can kind of map it out in your head or on paper or wherever. Um, but I like to do it on the fly, especially because this is a relatively simple game. Sleep. Okay, so now what we're going to do, so we go through, and I'm all checked. Now we're checking to see if they're all done. All that up. So each time an objective gets done, we are going to check and see if it's complete. And then if it is complete, go back over here. Get our exit room text. Exit room. Trying to remember how to affect this stuff. Event dispatchers, variables. Where do we affect find it? Oh, maybe we do. Yeah, so I made a, okay, yeah. Bind it makes a variable. So now get checked exit room. Text 0. Probably not what I want. I want to bind this. A binding. Okay. care what the color of opacity is. So set set foreground color. Found. Set members in we want to create a variable. That's what we want to do. Slate color. White. Completely white. That white. Foreground color. This is the widget. Make text block style. Well, shucks. Golly gee. So the color opacity is bound. So it's returning it, it's getting it. Now I need to be able to break slate color, set color and opacity. User widget reference is not compatible with slate color structure. Matching structures are this is a user widget. foreground color, gray. May have to punt on this one for right now. I can't seem to figure out how to change that text context. Selection panel with another widget. I mean, I figured out how to get the reference, but not how to change it. That gets me the value. So I've got the slate structure, but how did I then modify that? I'm not seeing any. I need to add it to an array. Set member adds a node that modifies the slate color. Okay. Oh, that's setting white to it. All right, well, we're going to punt on this for right now. Players will just have to figure out supposed to enter the room, exit the room until all objectives are complete. I'll have to put something in the room exit and just say all objectives not complete. So we'll knock that back up to 1. And maybe we'll come back to that. Oh. So we'll just get rid of this branch for right now. Okay, so this. Oh. Why is that? Check exit room. None was found on objectives. Yeah, I deleted that. Great. Okay. Okay. Well, with that, next we're going to go do some objective hookup. All right. See, this is a problem. So it's not compiling because it's, oh, check exit room. Maybe this is it. Oh, that got unhooked. Delete that. Binding property on widget, check exit room. Binding none was found in objectives. Oh, binding, remove binding, remove binding. Graph, compile. Okay, there we go. All right. So now we got to hook up the actual objective to fire. So and I may have set something up wrong. This may need to be. Oh, these are event dispatchers. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Think we got it right. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to take a break.